Then we have completed opposition. We have done how Muslims were persecuted and then how they moved to Abyssinia. Now we are studying about the boycott which took place and why this happened. It's the reason is given here. The acceptance of Islam by Hamza, Prophet's uncle, and Umar, son of Khattab, greatly upset and enraged the pagans. They could see the honor and prestige of Nabi Karim and his followers growing. They also saw the respect with which Najashi had treated the Muslims, and so they began to fear for themselves. They demanded that the Banu Hashim withdraw their protection from Holy Prophet and hand him over to them or face a complete boycott. This demand was turned down thereafter, and the seventh year of prophethood, all the tribes of Quraysh drew up a joint agreement that enforced a total social and economic boycott of Banu Hashim. This agreement was put into writing and hung in Kaaba. So basically, Hazrat Umar was a very influential person of Makkah, and similarly Hamza. So these two converted to Islam, and this was something which upsetted the Quraysh. So they thought that now Nabi Karim and his followers are growing, his prestige is growing, he's getting a better status, and Najashi also treated them with great respect. So in rage, they saw that opposition is not working for them, persecution is not working for them, Islam is continuing to grow. So after this, they decided to boycott Muslims completely, and it was a total social and economic boycott. And after which the Muslims were forced to move to a small valley, and it was known as Shebe Abi Talib. It's written over here as well. Mhm. Just give me a minute. Something went in my eyes, and all my vision got blurred. Okay. So, with the exception of Abu Lahab, the Holy Prophet, along with his tribe, whether believer or non believer, was forced to live in a secluded valley known as Shebe Abi Talib in the outskirts of Makkah, which was a property of Abu Talib. All the roads leading into the valley were blocked. The Muslims were excluded from all social and commercial activities. They were cut off from all trade dealings. This was a ban that stated no tribe could conduct buying, selling, and intermarriage relation with any member of Banu Hashim. No one could venture forth from ship except in the season of pilgrimage, when the besieged were allowed to come out. Whatever little they had to eat eventually finished, and then came a time of extreme difficulty. Their conditions became so bad that children cried with hunger, adults fed on boiled leathers and leaves on trees, and the valley echoed with the cries of helpless people. These conditions continued for 3 years until a few kind-hearted men among the unbelievers, moved by piety, decided to break the agreement and lift the ban. So imagine that for 3 years they were moved to a valley, and the roads were blocked. They were not allowed to trade. They were not allowed to come out from that valley. Whatever they had to eat, whatever sustenance they had, it eventually ended. So the people there were facing extreme difficulties, and the valley was echoing with the cries of children and with the cries of helpless people. So eventually, few people who were kind-hearted, they decided to break the agreement and lift up the ban. Holy Prophet informed Abu Talib that the document which stated about the boycott, which was hung in Kaaba, had been eaten by the moth, except for the phrase "In your name, O God." Abu Jahl prevented them to reach the document, but Mutim bin Adi stretched out his hand. He tore the document. After that, the Makkan people went to Shebe Abi Talib and escorted the members of Banu Hashim and Banu Abdul Muttalib out. In some sources, it is said that when they tried to reach the document, it was moth eaten, as said by Prophet, peace be upon him, and thus the Makkans flinched them out. The Banu Hashim were then able to come out of the gorge. Although the period of boycott meant that the Muslims suffered great hardships, it was not without some benefits to Islam. Despite the boycott, new converts continued to trickle through, although on a very limited scale. The sufferings of the Banu Hashim moved the kind-hearted men among the unbelievers to take action against the hardliners like Abu Jahl. This caused disunity among them. So, um, I can give you an example that people of Israel, some of them, they're very kind hearted, even though they're Jews, but they're kind hearted. They don't want any such persecution to happen towards human, because it's always whatever is happening in Gaza, it's the violation of human rights. So people in Israel, they are also not very supportive of what is happening on the political level. So this is exactly the same thing, that even if there is a group of non-Muslims, or even if there's a group of non-believers, there are few kind-hearted men who think on humanitarian basis, and this is exactly what people of Banu Hashim thought. People those who were in Makkah, they thought that this is something which is against the human rights, that they are banned, they cannot come out, they do not have anything to eat. So this is not how wars, or this is not how fights work. During fight as well, during wars as well, there are certain rights that are to be given to both sides. So when they asked that this document or this boycott, this should end, eventually this caused disunity among them, and eventually the boycott was lifted, because the document which was hung in Kaaba that promised that there will be a boycott, or there will be a social and economic boycott, it was eaten by a moth, except the word in that document which was, "In your name, O God." So everything in that document was eaten. After coming out from boycott, in the 10th year of prophethood, Hazrat Khatija died. In the same year, the Prophet's uncle Abu Talib too passed away. The Holy Prophet was so deeply grieved by the death of his wife and his loving uncle that this year was called Amul Huzn, the year of grief. The death of Abu Talib provided an opportunity to the enemy to harm and persecute the Holy Prophet. The Muslims shared in his sorrow, but they were too weak to stand up against Quraysh or to provide any kind of protection that he had lost due to the death of Abu Talib. Since Abu Talib, his uncle, had a very prestigious position in Makkah, he was a source of protection, he was a source of comfort for Nabi Kareem. But right after facing such intense boycott, and since they did not had anything to eat, they got weak. Both of them, Hazrat Khatija and Abu Talib, they got very weak right after the boycott, and eventually in 10th year of prophethood, right after the boycott was lifted, both of them died, and Nabi Karim called this year Amal Huzn, which means the year of grief. So after the death of Abu Talib, the uncle of Nabi Karim, Quraysh saw this as an opportunity to mock, to make fun of Nabi Karim, and to persecute him, to oppose him in whatever means that were possible. Muslims at that time, they were very weak, and they did not had such prestigious positions. This is why they were unable to do anything. But this was a great loss to Nabi Karim. So in the 10th year of prophethood, the Holy Prophet married Soda, a widow of a companion who had immigrated to Abyssinia. She had returned to Makkah on the death of her husband. Later in the same year, the Prophet married Aisha, daughter of his close friend Abu Bakr. The marriage was solemnized in Medina. So in 10th year, right after the death of his wife, Hazrat Khadija, Prophet had four children, four daughters, and they were very young, and he had to preach the message of Islam. He had to look after the affairs of Muslims, and it was extremely hard for him to manage the household affairs. This is why the companions of Nabi Karim asked him to marry this widow woman, and she was also an initial Muslim convert and had returned to Makkah after the death of her husband Soda Raziallahu anhu, and she then particularly looked after the household affairs of Nabi Karim, and she looked after the daughters of Nabi Karim more specifically because they were very young. Okay. Then visit to Taif. So after the death of Abu Talib, the Quraysh increased their attacks against the Holy Prophet. This new situation meant that he could no longer stay in Makkah with any hope of victory before things became too critical. He had to explore new avenues in his search for support. So accompanied by his adopted son, Zaid bin Harith, he set out for Taif to preach the divine message to its people. Taif was populated by Saqif, the second largest tribe in Arabia. As he began his journey, he was full of hope that if they responded favorably, it would signify a new phase in the history of Islam. In Taif, the Holy Prophet approached the chiefs, calling upon them to believe in Allah and to support him in his efforts to establish Islam. But none gave him a favorable response. Instead, they set upon a crowd of teenagers to follow him and shout abuses at him. They even threw stones at him. He was so badly wounded that his shoes were filled with blood. Zaid tried hard to defend and protect him from stones. In trying to shield the Holy Prophet, his head was badly wounded. So right after the death of Abu Talib, Nabi Karim had to look for new avenues. He saw that Quraysh were not accepting Islam and how they persecuted Muslims. So he had to look for new locations where he where Islam could prosper, where Islam could spread. So he went to Taif. It was a tribe. It was like a city in Saudi Arabia. So he went there in the hope that they would accept the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they did not accept. Instead, there were teenagers who shouted at him, and they threw stones at Nabi Karim, and he was so badly wounded that his shoes filled up with blood. Eventually, Zaid bin Haris, who was the adopted son of Nabi Karim, he was also badly wounded. So the mob followed them until they were driven to the outskirts of the city. The Holy Prophet then sought refuge in an orchard that belonged to two brothers, who, although opposed to Islam and to Holy Prophet, felt sorry for him. They sent their Christian slave with a bunch of grapes for him. Afterwards, the Holy Prophet set out his journey back to Makkah. While resting in the orchard, the Holy Prophet prayed to Allah to show the people of Taif the right path. He said, "Why should I pray for the destruction of these people? I hope that their posterity will certainly be among the believers in one Allah." In 9 AH, the whole of Taif embraced Islam. So imagine that Nabi Karim was so badly wounded. He was not well accepted in Taif. Yet again, when he was in an orchard, when he was resting, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show the right path to people of Taif. And he had this belief that these people and their progeny, they will accept Islam. And this is exactly what happened. If we were at his place, we would certainly ask Allah Ta'ala to destroy these people. If they have caused any harm to us, then we'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy all these people. We will never ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give right path, to show the right direction to people who hurt us. But imagine the greatness of Nabi Karim, that even after this incident, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show them right direction, and he asked that may all of these people, may their progeny accept Islam, and this is exactly what happened. So imagine the amount of kindness, imagine the amount of greatness Nabi Karim holds in his character, and this is the beauty of his character, that he never cursed anybody. He never demanded anything bad for those who did not appreciate his message. So, with this being said, we're calling it a day because I know this is a lot to take in. So, just try to revisit the slides after like an hour or so and try to revise all of this. So, I'm calling it a day now, and inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care and Jazakallah khair for joining.
Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.